Okay, now we are reaching the time we are expected to start this important seminar. Good morning to those who are in the Asia Pacific time zones, and good evening to our friends and colleagues in DC. Thank you very much for joining us for this seminar. This is the, I believe, the 12th seminar, which we hope to showcase the important activity and the partnership between the Japanese government and the World Bank Group in providing Japanese financial assistance to grassroots um, projects under the aegis of the World Bank Group. And we very much hope that we can not just as I said, the showcase what we've been doing, but also we learn from our activity, and we learn from the opinions and views expressed by the local people who are benefiting directly from this project. Now, without much further ado, I think I would like to ask a couple of important people to open the this dialogue. But before doing so, I think I need to give you a little bit of housekeeping, well, if you like, notions. I'd like to say, first of all, of course, this is unfortunately conducted via online platform. Usually we get together, of course, physically, and usually we have more sort of tangible, if you like, physical, for example, some kind of a product by the local groups, or some kind of direct link, and some kind of perhaps even booklet, or a joint meeting, and all these physical elements. But unfortunately, given the pandemic situation, we have to participate in this through, from all corners of the world, so to speak. So it's perhaps somewhat, some of you may feel somewhat distant from what's happening really on the ground, but please bear with us. Now, I'd like to say that we would start with the, after the opening remarks, we will start with the introduction of the project by the World Bank Group project managers, and followed by the implementing agency, the world famous World Vision, which has been very active throughout in this key areas of grassroots work, and also then followed by the input from the local population. And then we would like to have some time for a question and answer session. At that time, I would ask my colleague, Mr. Omori, to handle the flows of questions and answers. So now, thank you very much for your patience. I would like to ask Mr. Tanabe of the Japanese Ministry of Finance to open this dialogue with his opening remarks. Mr. Tanabe, please. Sorry, you may be still muted. Could you try again?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I think now we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, or good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, and Social Development Fund, or JSDF seminar. Japan and the World Bank established JSDF in 2000, and JSDF has supported the people and society's capacity building and their involvement in the development process in the country. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the World Bank team and all the people for their contribution to JSDF activities. On behalf of the government of Japan, I would like to extend my heartfelt greetings for all those participating in this seminar. Currently, we are facing unprecedented crisis caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Japan and the World Bank Group have been working closely to respond to the current crisis and to enhance preparedness for future crises and to achieve resilient recovery and sustainable growth of developing countries. At the last Development Committee meeting held early this month, governors of the World Bank Group have reached a historical agreement on advancing IDA 20's replenishment, which was one of the best examples of the strong collaboration between Japan and the World Bank Group. Japan has been promoting the World Bank Group's activities through trust funds. Japan continues to see the value of development priorities such as global health, including UHC and pandemic nutrition, debt transparency and sustainability, resilience against natural disasters, and quality infrastructure investment. Among trust funds, JSDF is one of the symbols of long-standing relationship between Japan and the World Bank Group. Today's seminar highlights JSDF's projects in Cambodia. Voice and action, social accountability for improved service delivery projects, which enhanced accountability and transparency of the local government through the involvement of local communities and improves the delivery of social services in health centers and schools. In this regard, I appreciate World Bank team's contribution to this critical project. I'm also looking forward to hearing the experiences of Mr. Somalis Lee and Mr. Mashu Andre, the World Vision International Cambodia, and voices from the people in prayer be here. The COVID-19 crisis has affected the most vulnerable people in developing countries, and it has become more important to hear the voice of people. I believe that achievements and lessons of this project will be utilized in the response and recovery from the COVID-19 crisis in Cambodia, as well as in other countries. Let me also emphasize the importance of the collaboration among trust funds activities. With regard to global health, Japan supports developing countries' efforts of achieving universal health coverage through Policy and Human Resource Development, or PHRD Trust Fund. In addition, Japan and the World Bank launched the Health Emergency Response and Preparedness Trust Funds last July to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic and enhance preparedness for the next crisis. I hope that collaboration of these trust funds will help countries address the crisis effectively. In addition, close cooperation with Embassy of Japan and Japan office in each country is critical for enhancing the quality of support through leveraging Japan's experience and knowledge. JSDF has been playing a pivotal role in deepening our partnership with the World Bank and bringing significant achievements in advancing the international development agenda. We would like to continue our support through JSDF for achieving resilient recovery and sustainable growth of developing countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for very kind words. It was Mr. Masashi Tanabe, Director of the MDB's division at the Ministry of Finance, Japan. Now we'd like to call Mr. Doug Reinerman, who is the Director for Trust Funds and Partner Relations at the World Bank, IBRD in Washington, D.C. Doug, please come in.
Thank you, Miyazaki-san, dear Tanabe-san, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure to warmly welcome you on behalf of the World Bank to this 12th Japan Social Development Fund Dialogue Series seminar, which will showcase the results and the lessons of a JSDF grant, the Cambodia Voice and Action Social Accountability for Improved Service Delivery Project. As Masato said, we usually do this in person with stakeholders in Tokyo, usually early in the year. The last time was just before the beginning of the pandemic, and I hope that we can continue with that tradition as of 22. But we are very happy to do it in the virtual format this time. So I'm happy to see so many tuning in. The JSDF program is a leading source of support for piloting innovative approaches to help alleviate poverty. And it was established in the year 2000, so a little over 20 years, as a partnership between the government of Japan and the World Bank Group. And today, the JSDF continues to support the poorest women, men, youth, and other marginalized segments of the population who have been bypassed by mainstream development interventions. By piloting innovative approaches to community engagement, JSDF projects have brought insights that have routinely been scaled up through projects financed by the World Bank Group and other development partners. They have informed development policies and strategies of the country governments and the work of our NGO and CSO partners. Literally hundreds of thousands of people across the globe have been provided new opportunities to have their voices heard in decisions that affect their lives and to assume greater responsibilities for their own destiny. The JSDF Dialogue Series seminar provides a platform to disseminate the results and lessons learned from the implementation of JSDF projects among practitioners, academia, CSOs, NGOs, and other Japanese stakeholders. As we said, we're celebrating the 12th edition of this Dialogue Series seminar today with our esteemed Japanese stakeholders, key partners, and beneficiaries of the JSDF grant. In this case, the 4.9 million JSDF grant supported the improvement of service delivery in schools, health centers, and communes for rural households in selected districts in Cambodia, as we will hear. This was achieved by local governments and service providers engaging with communities through information sharing, open budgets, citizen monitoring, and joint action planning, and all that to improve the performance and the responsiveness of the targeted services. The grant was implemented by our partners World Vision and Save the Children. Within this platform, you will hear from the beneficiaries themselves about the transformative impact of the project. And these rich lessons would also be shared to inform future JSDF projects and other projects financed by others. We do hope that you will enjoy this seminar, take an active part in the discussion on this development project, and celebrate with us the achievements of the JSDF and its development partners. Now, I know that JSDF recipient countries, its grant beneficiaries, who are connecting virtually today, are joining me and the World Bank Group in extending our sincere gratitude and appreciation to the government and the people of Japan for the continued generous support to the JSDF and other funds at the World Bank Group. We look forward to our continued collaboration and our partnership with esteemed NGOs, CSOs, and local governments to realize the World Bank Group's twin goals of ending poverty by 2030 and boosting shared prosperity. So thank you for your partnership, and I pass it back to you, Masato.
Thank you very much, Doug. Thank you for setting this project into a bigger picture of development and our World Bank objectives. Thank you. Now, I'd like to call upon Sadiq Aliyev, Acting Country Manager for Cambodia, and Eric Johnson, the Senior Social Development Specialist, both of whom are World Bank staff members who are deeply involved in this project. they will introduce the project from using the, I understand, using the PowerPoint slides. So Sadiq and Eric, please come in. You have the floor. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you very much for organizing today's featured meeting discussion on Cambodia social accountability for improved service delivery project. It's really a great pleasure to join this discussion from Phnom Penh, Cambodia. I will briefly share with you and with those who are connected online about the World Bank engagement in Cambodia. So let me share the content. I have 3-4 slides. Can you see the slides now? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, we do. We do. Thank you.
Okay, great. So the Cambodia World Bank partnership strategy, partnership framework was discussed within the board, in our board in 2019, and it covers 5 years period, which provide the foundation for our engagement in Cambodia. And the CPF, the Country Partnership Framework, supports government's rectangular strategy 4 and the national strategic development plan of the government. Now, I will briefly share with you the key focus areas of CPF, but before going there, just quick summary on Cambodia's development over past decade that I want to share with you. So the Cambodia has sustained quite high average growth of about 7.6% during 1995 up to 2019, and this has been quite a remarkable achievement and one of the highest growth rates performed in the region. And this performance has translated gradually to poverty reduction and improving the living standards of Cambodian population. We have also seen that the public sector capacity has been gradually improving, and also on the demand-driven governance at local level, at subnational level, the social accountability has been emerging throughout this process. Now, with the pandemic, of course, as we see globally and in many countries in the region, the social and economic impact have been severe. And in Cambodia, this growth, this very high growth, continuous growth has been interrupted, unfortunately, with the pandemic. We have seen after decades of high growth rate, we have seen last year in 2020, GDP contracted about 3.1%. And particularly the major impact we have seen in the 3 key sectors, drivers of growth, which are the tourism, construction, and garment sectors. And these sectors before COVID contributed to about 70% of growth and about 39% of the paid employment. So the impact of pandemic has been significant. And right now, the country in the midst of the worst outbreak since beginning of the pandemic, and the government is implementing very tight measures to contain the spread of the pandemic. The government is implementing also the program, a stimulus program, social assistance program, and the World Bank, together with our development partners, we have been working very closely with the government in this process to support in relief, in recovery, and building resilience. And in this process, of course, the investments in human capital and social protection will be very important for poverty reduction and supporting the shared prosperity agenda. Now, very quickly about the CPF country partnership framework. So we have in the CPF 3 key focus areas. The first focus area is on promotion, state efficiency, and boosting private sector development. And under this focus area, you can see the objective 2, which specifically focusing on the strengthening public sector accountability and public finance, which links to today's discussion that we are having on the project. The second focus area supports fostering human development, and here where our support includes on the health sector, on education sector, as well as expanding access to quality early childhood services. And now with the pandemic, we have made adjustments in our program and scaled up our support in the healthcare, and we have several investment projects and financing and grants that supporting the government of Cambodia in their work and efforts in fighting against pandemic. And this has been quite extraordinary intense period. The focus area 3 is focusing on agriculture sector, which is very important for Cambodia economy, and on the water sector and the natural resources. Now, here important to highlight the cross-cutting theme, which is the strengthening governance, institution, and citizens. And this theme comes across all focus areas. So in all our operations, investments, analytical works, these strengthening the governance, citizen engagement, institutions comes as a cross-cutting area that we are working closely with our counterparts in Cambodia. Very quickly on the objective 2 under the focus area 1, which I mentioned on strengthening public sector accountability and public finance. So these slides provide quick snapshot of our investment projects, of our analytical works, and also engagement under the trust fund. And on the right side box, you can see on the trust fund works, one of the important engagements has been on Cambodia social accountability and service delivery multi-donor trust fund. And this included 2 engagements, one with the government on the integrating social accountability into subnational system. And the second one, working with the civil society institution, engaging citizens to improve service delivery through social accountability. And here the last slide, just to highlight, as I mentioned in my previous slide, that the governance, improving governance, institutions, and citizen engagement is a cross-cutting theme under the country partnership framework. And you can see here across 3 focus areas, there are quite rich engagements that we are supporting through our operations, including on investment side and analytical works. And some of them specifically related to citizen engagement and social accountability includes citizens' feedback on quality of services. You can see on the focus area 1. So in all our operations, the beneficiary feedback is very important. It's part of our results framework where we measure the achievement of our works. Under focus area 2, social accountability in health sector, education sector, and community administration is important area. As I mentioned, focus area 2 is focusing on the human capital development and also on the user feedback on critical services. And on the focus area 3, which includes support in agriculture, water, and natural resources sector. We work on the community-based institutions such as agriculture cooperatives, forestry committees. So this was a quick snapshot of our engagement and country partnership framework in Cambodia. So let me stop here, and in conclusion, let me also thank our partners in Japan, Ministry of Finance, for their continuous support to Cambodia, and JSDF team for their great work in facilitating this work. We very much appreciate this engagement, and we look forward for our future collaborations. Thank you very much, and I will pass over now to Eric.
Great, thanks very much, Sadiq. I won't elaborate too much more. I'll add to Sadiq's thanks to the government of Japan for this opportunity with the JSDF. I want to also mention, while we're focusing today on social accountability, that actually there's a couple of other operations that are, one that's completed and one that's ongoing now, financed by JSDF under the early childhood education component of the program, which Sadiq mentioned. And those are also allowing us some innovations which can be scaled up in Cambodia and applied elsewhere. So perhaps they'll be the subject of a future dialogue such as this. I also just wanted to highlight, Sadiq mentioned the subnational governance and the overall kind of governance reforms. Social accountability sits within the government's 10-year strategy for subnational democratic development as a key theme. So this is the government's main reform agenda on decentralization, shifting power from the central level down to local levels, which includes, shifting authority, shifting finances. So with this movement down of authority, social accountability is bringing up the voice of the people and the public. So it's a very important, dynamic, which this JSDF original grant had financed. And as Sadiq mentioned, there's now a multi-donor trust fund building on that, financing not just the government, but financing civil society separately, which is a fairly unique thing within the World Bank portfolio. The social accountability mechanisms that were piloted under the Voice in Action project are also being used in other projects. So Sadiq mentioned health, education, and commune administration. We also have other projects in water supply, wastewater. There's a project on nutrition. So they're also incorporating the social accountability tools into the way in which they work. So that's another way in which things are scaling up. And the last point that I'll make, since I left Cambodia last year, I've returned to Washington, D.C., the headquarters, and I've become the global lead for citizen engagement and social accountability. I attribute some of that progression in my career to my work in Cambodia. But I can also say from this perspective that the Cambodia example is one that is of great interest across our portfolio and the work that we do in the different regions of the World Bank. There aren't many examples like this, where there's a real holistic approach at a country level on social engagement. So it really stands as an example for our other country clients to learn from. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, both. Thank you, Sadiq, for emphasizing the importance of the so-called user response feedback. I think this is really an important reminder for all of us. And Eric was the project team leader for this particular project, and without his picking this up, and if he hadn't carried it forward, of course, we wouldn't have had the chance to support this important element in the local community. And so thank you for that. And now I expect you to pick up and carry forward similar projects throughout the globe. That's great. Thank you very much. Now, let me call upon two people from World Vision International. They are kindly implementing this project really on the ground. So can I call on Sotheby's and Matthew here, please?
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mathieu Andre. I am from World Vision International. Sotarit, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, good morning. I'm Sutarat, Senior Program Manager for this project since 2015. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. I would like to thank everybody for inviting us today, and especially the Japanese Social Development Fund and the World Bank for the support for World Vision through this project and through other projects currently continuing in Cambodia. Yes. This project was very important at the time to support social accountability and ISSAF in Cambodia. And it has allowed a lot of learning and innovation that currently we are still benefiting from in the new phase of ISSAF. I have a presentation to present everything. And I don't know if we can put my slide now, or are we going to watch the video? Okay, great. Thank you very much. Can we go then to next slide? Excellent. Thank you very much. So I'm going to briefly present the project now. As I was saying, I'm Mathieu Andre. I'm ISSAF technical lead. I worked with Sotarit on this project. I've been working on this over the last 3 years, and Sotarit has been working on it since the beginning at World Vision. We are very happy to present today. This is a very important project for us, for World Vision, and it has made a major impact here in Cambodia. And we hope that through this presentation, you will have an opportunity to understand a little bit more the impact and legacy of the support that the Japanese Social Development Fund through this project. You can see in the slide here a few basic information about the project. Overall, over the 3 years of implementation, the project covered a little bit less than a third of the communes in the country, and benefited. So in this commune, it covered all the health center, primary school, and commune administration. And these services are used by around 4.1 million people, which is a little bit less than a quarter of the population in Cambodia. The objective were to inform citizens, allow them to monitor the quality of services, and then work on social accountability with different components of the project, from capacity building to project management, M&E, etc. Can I go to the next slide, please? What is important to understand at this stage is that ISSAF project was a direct support to the decentralization strategy and plan in Cambodia. And as part of this decentralization process, the government of Cambodia, supported by the different development partners, created a social accountability mechanism called ISSAF, Implementation of the Social Accountability Framework. The idea was to put citizens on the driving seat through a mechanism that would allow them to provide feedback on the quality of services received at the local level. It was a very important innovation at the time in the Cambodian context, and through the funding of this project, it really allowed to scale up the implementation of this social accountability framework and learn a lot and innovate. So today we are still building on this learning and innovation. Can I go to the next slide, please? You will see in this slide that the ISSAF process, the social accountability process, is an annual cycle. with 4 different steps. It starts with the information and empowerment of citizens, followed by a monitoring of the quality of the services they are receiving, comparing with the services they are supposed to receive. Following this monitoring of the performance of the local service provider, citizens identify or suggest action they would like to see implemented to address the quality issue. And they start a dialogue with local service providers and local authorities to prioritize and develop and finalize an advocacy action plan. And once this action plan has been finalized, there is a monitoring process, and if everything goes according to plan, an integration process of this accountability action in local budget and local development plan. So can I go to the next slide, please? You will see in this next slide the result against the PDO indicators of the project. I would like to make a difference in this slide between the development indicators that are related to the performance of the service provider, where we have seen significant improvement in the performance of all the service provider involved in the project, and we have almost achieved all the end line targets. That's the 3 first line. And I think that's really showing the capacity or the possibility of the project to really influence the performance of the service, the local service provider. Now you will see that some of the indicators, end line target, have not been achieved, and they are all related to the participation of citizens in local democratic process. Unfortunately, over the duration of the project, we had several change in the context, and especially in the political context, that have had some significant impact in the participation of citizens in local democratic processes at local level. And I think that would go to the long extent to explain the difficulties that the project had to contribute to achieve these end-line targets. Can I go to the next slide, please? So we're going to focus now on the first component of the project related to the information of citizens, the citizen monitoring, and the development of accountability plan. Next slide, please. You will see in this slide that's the information that was provided to the citizens in all the communes that were targeted by the project, and in this commune, in all the service provider. In the first poster, you will see that citizens are informed about their right and entitlement. That's the quality that the services they are supposed to receive are supposed to meet. And then they are informed in the poster 2 about the budget of this service provider and the way they have spent the budget the previous year. And then in the third poster, they are informed about the performance, the objective performance of the service provider against some national performance indicators, like punctuality of the staff, availability of textbook for children, this kind of indicators. Next slide, please. Through the project, the implementing partners, World Vision and Save the Children, have tried to inform citizens through different ways. And you can see here some picture about the way we have been informing citizens. Overall, around more than 300,000 citizens in the target area were informed about their rights and the entitlements, and that's represent around 8% of the population in this target area, which is a significant part of the population. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah, this one. So I'm sorry, it seems we are not seeing very well the information on this slide. what is really interesting through the monitoring is that the citizens that were targeted and participated in the information activities of the project show a very strong retention of information. 76% of them were able to correctly cite the standard that the school, health center, and community services were supposed to meet, the quality standard, and around 74% of them were able to talk about the budget of their service provider. Which is taking into account the context of Cambodia, the level of literacy, the novelty of transparency of local stakeholders is really a significant achievement. Can we go to the next slide, please? The next step of the process, as I was saying, is about the monitoring of the quality of the services received by the citizens. The idea is that citizens, through a face-to-face meeting, are going to rate the quality of the service they are receiving on several aspects, like punctuality of the staff or availability of essential medicine. And they will use an emoticon scorecard from very satisfied to very unsatisfied. Around 200,000 citizens took part in this scoring, which is again 5% of the population in this target area. And I think, again, this is taking into account the context of Cambodia and the novelty of this kind of initiative in the country, a significant achievement. 5% of the population able to directly provide feedback on the essential services they are receiving. Through this project, also more than 30,000 service providers, so staff in the health center, the primary school, and community administration, were able to self-assess their performance against the national standard. And this provided a really good base for the discussion later on between citizen and service provider about how to improve the quality of the services. Next slide, please. I will not go into the detail of this, but I wanted to show you that World Vision did an analysis overall of the feedback of the citizens, and we communicate this analysis to the relevant ministry and authorities to show them overall what is the feedback of the citizens regarding the services they are receiving. Here you can see the percentage of facilities that are complaining about specific aspect of the services available. So for example, you can see that in the health center, 80% of the health center, there is a complaint about the staff behavior, politeness, and friendliness. Can we go to the next slide, please? But if you take a step back, you would see that the first thing, that's the most important thing that citizens are complaining about is the performance of the service provider. You can see here that, for example, when it comes to the health center, almost 50% of the feedback of the citizens is related to the staff, to the performance of the staff. Respect of punctuality, working hour, politeness, just respecting basic rules of the health center. And this is something very important to understand about ISSAF. This is about fixing local issues that are within the power of local service provider. Very small things like respect of working hours, like attitude of the staff, that make a huge difference when it comes to the attendance of the, when that's are going to have an impact on the citizens and their use of the services. If the health center is not open at the right hours, if the school if the teacher is never attending the school, then people lose trust in the service, in the public services. They stop going to the health center, or they don't go systematically. They don't really send their children to the school, etc., etc. This has a major impact on health and learning outcome at the local level. Now, next slide, please. Overall, you can see in this slide, this is the average satisfaction score as expressed by the citizen over the project. The key information here that I wanted to communicate is that over the 3 years of the project, we have seen a significant, a seeable increase of the satisfaction of the citizens in relation to all services. And this is something that we'll continue to track over time as we are continuing to implement ISSAF. But we are very satisfied to see that, citizens seems to be more and more satisfied about the quality of the services as the project was progressing over time. Please, next slide. Following the assessment and the rating of the satisfaction of the citizens, the next step is the development of the Joint Accountability Action Plan. More than 30,000 people, representatives from citizen local authorities, took part in the development of this action plan. Next slide, please. Yes, thank you very much. Sorry, there is a little animation. Overall, 90% of the action adopted in this action plan, which is, for example, fix the building of the school or ensure that the health center is clean and there is a cleaner recruited to clean the health center over time, or this kind of small action to address punctuality or politeness, for example. So 90% of this action have been implemented already or were on the way to be implemented at the end of the project against a target of 65%. So it's a significant achievement also for us, because it showed that not only the project managed to have this dialogue between local authorities and citizens, but actually local authorities and service provider who really have the capacity to implement this action own the action plan and implemented the action plan, showing that they value the feedback of the citizens and they value the Joint Accountability Action Plan and ISSAF overall. Next slide, please. Just to show you that overall the percentage of implementation of the action responding to the main issues that were most frequently raised by the citizens is very high when it comes to performance. ISSAF is a very, very good tool when it comes to address the issue of the performance of the service provider at the local level. Unfortunately, what we really learned through this project is that ISSAF is a little bit less capable of addressing the issues that are related to either the national system, national health system, national education system, or issues that require significant funding. Next slide, please. So briefly about component B, the capacity building side. Next slide. You will see that, sorry about that. The ISSAF process at the local level is implemented through community volunteers. Over the duration of the project, 1,800 volunteers were active. 82% of them receive a full training, a full coaching, and learning by doing plan. While the staff of World Vision and Save the Children was trained also according to plan, with a target of 75% of them fully capable of managing the process. I think it was an incredible experience, not only for World Vision and the project, but thousands of these volunteers are still active through ISSAF. And a very high number of them have been moving on to new responsibility, including in local administration and local service providers. with this background and this training in social accountability and this experience working with local citizens. And I think we will be able to see at some point this generation ISSAF of young, most of the time young women trained on social accountability, understanding what the importance of citizen voice for improving the quality of local service. Next slide, please. Obviously, the project face a lot of challenges and lessons learned. I've mentioned a little bit the national political context. I think on the more technical side, we have seen that we need to be more inclusive with the project. We have been investing more on capacity building, in coaching, in M&E. I'm not going to go through the list. I think it's very well detailed in the final project report and the ISSAF evaluation conducted by the World Bank. You can also reach out to us if you want to discuss more technical points like this one. Next slide, please. What is really interesting for us is the sustainability and institutionalization of ISSAF and the contribution, the major contribution of the Japanese Social Development Fund to this sustainability and institutionalization. As I was saying, ISSAF is part of the national decentralization process and policy, and this financial support came at the right moment to really scale up and pilot on a very large scale the social accountability process in Cambodia. And it really allowed to convince local authorities and national authorities of the added value of a social accountability process in the decentralization process. Now we have seen that ISSAF Phase 2 has been launched, and that would be my next slide, please. Through this and beyond ISSAF Phase 2, the social accountability process or framework is part of the next 10 years plan for decentralization and local level democratization, which I think it's a huge recognition of the impact of ISSAF Phase 1, where the Japanese Social Development Fund play a critical role, and it's a recognition of the impact of the project and the success of the project in convincing the Cambodian authorities to invest more and to develop transparency and participation in citizens in local level governance. I think in the context of Cambodia, as I was saying at the beginning of my presentation, ISSAF, when we started Phase 1, was a very novel and risky and innovative approach that was building on the support from different stakeholders, but was very innovative. There was not a lot of innovation in transparency and local governance. And I think through this project, really, we managed to convince national authorities, local authorities, and institutionalization and sustainability of ISSAF are now secure. And I think this is one of the biggest legacy of the project. I'm sorry, I think I went over time. I'm going to stop here so I can leave more time for question and answer and later on to the presentation of the beneficiary. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. That was Mr. André, technical lead of the project, together with Mr. Rai, senior project manager, both from World Vision. And thank you very much for your very frank and honest assessment of the successes and challenges of this project, and what is necessary to carry it forward into the future. May I actually take this opportunity to ask you a question? You know, this JSDF umbrella, if you like, or framework, is has or requires some three players, that is the Japanese government, the World Bank, and the implementing agency, in this case, World Vision. Instead of, or in addition to your challenges on the ground, have you ever encountered difficulty in coordinating these three players when you conduct your work? Have you ever faced challenges when you want to get the coordination between yourself, World Bank, and or the Japanese government? Please.
Yeah, thanks for your question. I think this is really not a challenge we have faced. I think we have been lucky to have a very good relationship and coordination coming from the World Bank and from Eric on this project. Eric was very on top of everything that was happening and able to communicate, I think, very well with the Japanese counterpart. From our side, we have always been able to engage very well with all stakeholders, I believe. We had several missions from the Japanese representative. I had the opportunity to be in one of them to observe the activities at the local level, and that was a great memory. So that you want to say something about this?
Yeah, I'm Sutara, Senior Program Manager for this project in 2015, and thank you so much, Matu, for giving me the floor. I think, again, thank you to Eric, because this project is a lot of stakeholders at the national level. We have EU, we have the USAID, a lot of complicated, but thanks to Eric, is very excellent facilitated. So he coordinates very well with the multi-stakeholder, and we are very the implementer, so also happy and also be easy to implement under the Eric direction as well. So if we have a problem, we have to Eric and direct coordination at the national level. And then we get decision from the donor, from the multi-donor, so then we follow the decision that. So it's essential. So Eric, to the World Bank as well, very, very coordination here.
Thank you very much. It's very assuring to hear the word of approval. Okay, I should have actually shown you a video of the project itself. I just overlooked the running order. I'm sorry. So now, may I ask Murakami-san to play the video, which gives us some a direct sense of what's happening on the ground. Thank you.
ដល់ពេលមានគម្រោងគណនេយ្យនឹងមកគឺល្អឥឡូវនេះពេលដែលខ្ញុំទៅសាលាខ្ញុំឃើញសិស្សមួយថ្នាក់គឺបង្រៀនតែ30នាក់35នាក់អស់ហើយពេលដែលប្រជុំគឺគាត់អត់អាចឲ្យអត់គ្រូបានទេកន្លងមកការប្រជុំរបស់គ្រូគឺអត់មានគ្រូបរិញ្ញាគឺអត់ហ្មងសិស្សត្រូវសម្រាប់ចំពោះមណ្ឌលសុខភាពក៏អញ្ចឹងដែរមានន័យថាការប្រើពាក្យសម្ដីដូចមានការថយចុះជាងមុនណាហើយចំពោះវិស័យរដ្ឋបាលឃុំឥឡូវនេះគឺមានការប្រចាំ8ម៉ោងពេញហ្មងហើយអ្វីដែលខ្ញុំមានមោទនភាពគឺសហគមន៍ខ្ញុំមួយហ្នឹងមានប្រជាពលរដ្ឋចេះដឹងច្រើនត្រង់ថាខ្ញុំបាននាំព័ត៌មានគ្រប់យ៉ាងជូនគាត់ហើយនាំព័ត៌មានជូនគាត់ទៅឲ្យថ្នាក់ឃុំខ្ញុំកន្លងមកនៅពេលដែលខាងគម្រោងគណនេយ្យហ្នឹងមុននឹងបង្កើតហ្នឹងណាភាគច្រើនគាត់អត់ចង់ចូលរួមអីទេប៉ុន្តែក្រោយដល់ពេលមានគម្រោងនឹងផលការហៅគាត់មកចូលរួមគឺអត់មានផលពិបាកទេយើងតែងតែលើកទឹកចិត្តគាត់ថាសូមឲ្យអ៊ំព្យាយាមចូលរួមដោយសារថានេះជាផលប្រយោជន៍របស់សហគមន៍យើងចង់ឲ្យឃុំយើងមានការរីកចម្រើនអញ្ចឹងណាហើយឲ្យអ្នកផ្ដល់សេវាយើងនឹងឲ្យមានការផ្ដល់សេវាបានល្អមុននឹងពេលដែលខ្ញុំបានធ្វើការងារចុះប្រឡូកនឹងការងារនេះគឺខ្ញុំគ្រាន់តែជាមនុស្សសាមញ្ញនៅផ្ទះធម្មតាទេប៉ុន្តែខ្ញុំតែងតែគិតថាខ្ញុំចង់ឲ្យប្រជាពលរដ្ឋនឹងមានការចេះដឹងច្រើនដើម្បីឲ្យគាត់នឹងពេលតែគាត់ទៅ ទៅទទួលយកសេវាអ្វីមួយគាត់បានដោយបំណងរបស់គាត់ជាពិសេសស្ត្រីយើងភាគច្រើនគាត់អត់សូវដែរបានចូលរួមជាមតិយោបល់អីទេគម្រោងគណនេយ្យភាពនេះគឺឲ្យខ្ញុំមានចំណេះដឹងច្រើនណាស់ពីអញ្ចឹងអាចធ្វើឲ្យខ្ញុំអភិវឌ្ឍខ្លួនកាន់តែខ្ពស់បានហ្មងសមត្ថភាពមួយនេះគឺខ្ញុំស្រឡាញ់ហើយខ្ញុំពេញចិត្តថ្ងៃណាមួយខ្ញុំនឹងសម្រេចគោលបំណងរបស់ខ្ញុំប្រហែលជាខ្ញុំចង់ធ្វើជាអ្នកដឹកនាំម្នាក់ដ៏ល្អសម្រាប់ឲ្យភូមិឃុំខ្ញុំ
Thank you very much. Very nice video. Thank you very much. Nice to see people smile. Okay. So now we'd like to move to hearing directly from those people who are benefiting from this project, the so-called beneficiaries. Sorry to keep you waiting, but I believe two people from the region, and with the help of Mr. Rai, I think we can hear from them what they feel and what they get out of this project. So shall I give the floor to the beneficiaries with the help of Mr. Rai, please? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Masatu. I'm Satorat, so I'm facilitating with the community right now. So we have two guest speakers from the community now. We have the health center chief in Banti Mienche province, not go to Piawe here because it's the problem of the internet connection. So we go to Banti Mienche. And also we have the one community accountability facilitator is the volunteer who play a role as the implementer in this project from the beginning. It's from January to December. They are the key player, the key implementer in their commune. So let's go with me to Banti Mienche province. So now I will speak Khmer to the health center staff, and then I will translate that. I will give them the floor around 1 or 2 minutes, and then I will translate what I mentioned. Bong Pisat. Hi Pisat, Bong Pisat. Bong say Pisat lưới bong sôngដាក់video tí mất bong sông chế. Ok bong chuẩn bị xuống bong à lấyខ្ញុំ
សំណួរគ្នាជ្រាបសួរគ្រប់សញ្ជាតិបានចូលរួមខ្ញុំមានសេចក្តីសំណរីករាយបំផុតដែលបានអញ្ជើញចូលរួមបកស្រាយតាមរយៈអនឡាញនេះនិងខ្ញុំបានស្គាល់អស់លោកទាំងអស់ខ្ញុំសូមគោរពអស់លោកទាំងអស់បានស្គាល់
But first, I would like to thank you so much to give me an opportunity to share the testimony from health center in the community living. And thank you again to let me in here in this national meeting. បងជិះបងដាក់ទៅច្រើនទៅបងដាក់សុំ1នាទី2នាទីទៅចាំបងចប់មួយ section ចាំខ្ញុំបកឲ្យណាបងជិះបាទខ្ញុំបាទឈ្មោះស្រីពិសិដ្ឋ អាយុ49ឆ្នាំមានតួនាទីជាប្រធានមណ្ឌលសុខភាពពភោបាទទីកន្លែងធ្វើការសម្ងាយដែលមានទីតាំងនៅភូមិតភោស្រុកស្វាយជែកខេត្តបន្ទាយមានជ័យបាទខ្ញុំជាប្រធានមណ្ឌលសុខភាពពភោដូចជាសហការីរបស់ខ្ញុំបាទទាំងអស់គ្នាមានសេចក្តីសំណោះរីករាយ ក្នុងការចូលរួមប្រជុំនិងការចែករំលែកបទពិសោធន៍ខ្លះៗអំពីការអនុវត្តប្រកបទៅដោយករណីភាពសង្គមដើម្បីធ្វើឲ្យសេវាសាធារណៈកាន់តែប្រសើរឡើងបាទ Okay, so let me introduce myself. My name is Swai Pisat. I'm 49 years old. I'm the head of the health center, Tapo Health Center. Tapo is one of the remote commune in Swai Chek district in Banti Mien Chai district. Is near the Thailand border. It's a very remote province, and I'm here against me and my staff in the health center is very happy now that you give me the floor to share our testimony. Bong Cheng, chào đón các bạn. ច្រើនតិចបងចា៎បង
ខ្ញុំសូមនិយាយពីជីវប្រវត្តិរបស់ខ្ញុំបន្តិចបាទនៅឆ្នាំ1991ខ្ញុំជាបុគ្គលិកពេទ្យបម្រើការងារនៅមន្ទីរពេទ្យស្វាយជ័យមានតួនាទីជាអ្នកចែកចាយឱសថបាទដើមពី1991បន្តមកខ្ញុំធ្វើការនៅទីនោះបានរយៈពេលជាង3ឆ្នាំកន្លងមកហើយនៅពេលនោះរដ្ឋាភិបាលបានត្រូវការប្រឡងជ្រើសរើសបុគ្គលិកបន្ថែមទៀតបាទពីដើមបុគ្គលិកយើងធម្មតាគេជ្រើសរើសទៅអូតូម៉ាទិកបើជំនាន់ខ្ញុំចាប់ដើមប្រឡងទៅតែប្រឡងបុគ្គលិកមានតែប្រឡងចូលទៀតនៅពេលនោះខ្ញុំបានប្រឡងជាប់ទៅរៀនបន្តបន្ថែមទៀតដល់ពេលខ្ញុំរៀនចប់ឆ្នាំ1997រដ្ឋាភិបាលក៏ដូចជាការស្ម័គ្រចិត្តរបស់ឃើញថាតំបន់នោះមានការខ្សត់ខ្សោយហើយគ្មានពេទ្យទៀតនៅតំបន់នេះគ្មានពេទ្យតទៅសោះអញ្ចឹងខ្ញុំមានការស្ម័គ្រចិត្តជាមួយនឹងប្រពន្ធខ្ញុំនិងបុគ្គលិកផ្សេងបានមកដំណើរការងារនៅមណ្ឌលសុខភាពកភោនេះចាប់ពី97រហូតដល់បច្ចុប្បន្ននេះបាទជាប្រធានមណ្ឌលសុខភាពតែម្ដង
Okay, but I remember in 1991, I'm the pharmacist at the Restaurant Hospital in Swathe district. It's not in this district at the same province. And I remember at that time there is no medical staff there in the whole commune, and very remote, and there is no medical staff. So I applied to join the training from the government, and then I have selected. In 1997, I was appointed as the head of the whole health center, and I started to work there with. I stayed there with my wife, and I continue to work at the whole health center since 1997 until now. Okay, bóng chứ.
ខ្ញុំនិយាយពីបញ្ហាប្រឈមកន្លងមកដែលយើងមិនទាន់អនុវត្តនៅតែនៃទីសង្គមឃើញថាជាបរិបទភាគច្រើនមិនសូវយល់ដឹងពីបញ្ហាសុខភាពតរសោះបាទនិងសិទ្ធិរបស់ខ្លួនដែលបានដើម្បីមកទទួលសេវានៅផ្នែកសុខភាពនិងធ្វើឲ្យមានតម្លាភាពបាទនេះជាបញ្ហានៅពេលដែលយើងផ្ដល់សេវាគ្រប់ផ្នែកនៅក្នុងមណ្ឌលសុខភាពក៏ដូចជាការចុះអប់រំនៅតាមសហគមន៍ប្រជាពលរដ្ឋគាត់មិនសូវមានការចូលរួមតរសោះបាទនឹងឲ្យធ្វើឲ្យមានការគម្លាតពីគ្នារវាងអ្នកទទួលសេវានិងអ្នកផ្ដល់សេវាបាទនេះជាបញ្ហាបន្តទៀតពេលដែលផ្ដល់សេវាតាមផ្នែកនៅក្នុងមណ្ឌលសុខភាពក៏ដូចជាចុះអប់រំពីសារសុខភាពផ្សេងនិងចុះចាក់វ៉ាក់សាំងទៅលើកុមារប្រជាពលរដ្ឋមិនសូវមានការចូលរួមតរសោះបាទនៅរាល់ប្រជុំរៀងរាល់2ខែម្ដងរវាងគណៈកម្មការគ្រប់គ្រងនិងមណ្ឌលសុខភាពមិនសូវមានតម្លាភាពអំពីថវិកាចំណូលចំណាយនៅក្នុងមណ្ឌលសុខភាពបាទនេះជាចំណុចដែលផ្ទះកន្លងមកបាទ
Okay, so he said about the history before we implement the project. So he told us that at the time citizens not aware about the standard of the health center and also their right. They don't understand. And he remember before we implement the project, I observed citizens not active participate with the health center. For example, when they went to the field for the children vaccination, and the community ran away from them and complained that the vaccination make their children sick, fever, and their children is okay, but you come and then you make them sick. So there is the gap between the health center staff and the community. And he also mentioned that every 2 months they have the health center management committee, and the problem is there are no budget information to share to the public, so lack of the transparency at that time. Yeah, it's a key summary. Thank you. Bong chơi tiệt bong.
បាទសូមបន្តទៀតលទ្ធផលដែលយើងបានសម្រេចបានដែលយើងចាប់ផ្ដើមអនុវត្តនៅមណ្ឌលសុខភាពយើងដែលចាប់ផ្ដើមដំណើរការអនុវត្តនៅក្របខ័ណ្ឌនៅគណនេយ្យភាពសង្គមពីឆ្នាំ2016មកឃើញថាបំលាស់ប្ដូរតែនៃផ្នត់គំនិតដល់ពួកគាត់បានជាច្រើនបាទគួរឲ្យកត់សម្គាល់ទាំងអ្នកផ្ដល់សេវាទាំងអ្នកទទួលសេវា មានការសហការល្អជាមួយអង្គការដៃគូដែលជាតំណាងម្ចាស់ជំនួយហើយមួយទៀតអាជ្ញាធរគ្រប់លំដាប់ថ្នាក់លើដល់ថ្នាក់ក្រោមមានការរៀបចំនិងផែនការច្បាស់លាស់ដើម្បីមានការដាក់បន្ទុករវាងអ្នកផ្ដល់សេវានិងអ្នកទទួលសេវានិងមានបិទទាំងផ្សព្វផ្សាយអំពីសារព័ត៌មាននៅក្នុងមណ្ឌលក៏ដូចជានៅតាមសហគមន៍អំពីសិទ្ធិនិងរបៀបស្តង់ដារសិទ្ធិការស្តង់ដារប្រជាពលរដ្ឋដែលជាអ្នកទទួលសេវានិងព្រមទាំងពេលទាំងអស់ដែលជាអ្នកផ្ដល់សេវាបានយល់ដឹងអំពីសិទ្ធិរបស់ខ្លួនយល់ដឹងអំពីសិទ្ធិរបស់ខ្លួនហើយប្រជាពលរដ្ឋភាគច្រើនមានការចូលរួមរាល់សកម្មភាពផ្នែកសេវាសុខភាពដែលមានកន្លងមកអត់ដែលមានទេចាប់តាំងពីដំណើរកណន័យភាពសង្គមមកឃើញថាគាត់មានការខុសខលច្រើនមែនទែនខ្ញុំមានសេចក្តីសំណងរីករាយត្រេកអរជាអាណកម្មការរកអ្វីពីទំបានឡើងដោយសារខ្ញុំប្រែពីសហគមន៍របស់យើងខ្ញុំដូចជាអ្នកទទួលសេវានិងអ្នកផ្ដល់សេវាបានល្អប្រសើរច្រើនមែនទែនបាទខ្ញុំមោទនភាពមែនទែន
អូខេបងខ្ញុំសូមបកតិចបងណាអរគុណwhat is the key reason? I think he mentioned that in 2006 when we implement social accountability project in the whole commune, and what he observed is now the people change mindset. So people not dare to speak, they dare to speak, and they demand for the better service with the health center staff. Before they're afraid, they don't talk with the health center staff, but now they understanding about their rights. And they come and then they talk with us, they demand for the better service. And one thing that he observed is like a good cooperation among the stakeholder, also the local NGO, Vision, and also the community, like the community council, community chief as well. So they have the clear plan together. After they conduct community scorecard, also, and then they join the first meeting, and then they develop the clear plan to improve their health services. So this is a very good plan, and also the budget allocation to implement those actions. So it's very special, it's very unique here. And he all observed that it's not only the health and it's not only the citizen, but the health centers themselves, his team as well, also understand more about the health center standard. Before, not only people, but the health center staff, the health center team not aware about their standard, and also not aware about the service user rights to access to the health center. So after this project, citizen and the staff of the health center staff is more understanding deeply about the standard, about the right of the service user. And we can see this project is strengthening the engagement between the health center and the citizen. It is amazing. And then he mentioned that thank you so much. That he not believe that this project can restruct this engagement between the health center and the community. And he observed this is one of the bigger results that happened in his commune. Okay, bang.
ខ្ញុំវិញនិយាយរំភើបពេកចំយំ
I'm so inspired and then also almost crying.
អស់លោកតាមលោកបានសហការយ៉ាងល្អមែនទែនដែលធ្វើឲ្យដំណើរការនៅផ្នែកខាងដោយសុខភាពយើងបានល្អប្រសើរខ្ញុំរំភើបរកអ្វីពីទំបានបាទ
I'm so excited for your support, and now I see a lot of improvement in my health center. I'm really appreciate for your support. Okay, bang.
ជាចុងក្រោយតាមនាមខ្ញុំជាប្រធានមណ្ឌលសុខភាពក៏ដូចជាសហការីទាំងអស់ព្រមទាំងប្រជាពលរដ្ឋក្នុងឃុំតភោក៏ដូចជាប្រជាពលរដ្ឋទូទាំងប្រទេសបាទក៏ដូចជាពលរដ្ឋទូទាំងប្រទេសសូមថ្លែងអំណរអគុណរកអ្វីប្រៀបទៅបានឡើយដល់ម្ចាស់ជំនួយអន្តរជាតិជាពិសេសធនាគារពិភពលោកព្រមទាំងធនាគារពិភពលោកនិងអង្គការ SDF ជប៉ុន
បាទអរគុណបង
អត់សូវច្បាស់
In short, on behalf of the health center staff and also the citizen in the whole commune, great tips to thank so much for your support to the JSDF and to the World Bank to bring this great project to implement in my commune. Thank you so much. So let me briefing about the health center. So he told us a lot, and then I went to the health center. I see a lot of change in the health center as well. You know, before there is no maternity waiting room because it's in the remote areas and the infrastructure is very difficult. So the pregnant women need to come to arrive at the health center early before they deliver a baby. But before there's no waiting room, waiting house there. So after we got the scorecard, and then the citizen raised the concern about that, and then he built the waiting house. He mobilized the resources from Vervision, from the government, from the commune budget, and build a waiting house for the children, for the pregnant women there. They really appreciate him and as well. And one thing in the delivery room, and you know, Cambodia is a very hot country, 39 Celsius degree. And in the room, there is no fan, there is no AC. And then how can you feel that the pregnant woman delivery in a small room and it's too hot there? So now what he do? He mobilized the resources and he bought the AC in the delivery room. Oh, and the people are really happy, and not only the people in the whole commune, but the people that are around the commune also go to get the service from his health center as well. And also the well restroom. Before there is no, they have the restroom but no water. They have the small pond there, but it's no clean water. After the community scorecard, after the rest concern from the people from our project, and then he started to raise again the funding, because we know the budget from health center is limited. So we get the funding from Vervision, from another government, from also the generous people, and then he built one restroom, and also he did the well to get the cleaning water for the reuse there. So a lot of story has been changed through this project, and this is one just as example from the commune, but we have 500 commune that has been changed as well. Yeah. Okay. So thank you from the health center. So now we move to the community from the volunteer. So what is her testimony? Thira, please go ahead. Thira, some change, Thira. Bạn bị tổ không Thira? Anh Lư Thira, anh Lư am new business.
ចាសូមជម្រាបសួរម្ដងទៀតចានាងខ្ញុំឈ្មោះបូធារាហើយនាងខ្ញុំអាយុ34ឆ្នាំនាងខ្ញុំជាអ្នកស្ម័គ្រចិត្តសម្របសម្រួលការងារគណនេយ្យភាពសហគមន៍នៅភូមិរលួសឃុំរលួសចាស្រុកស្វាយចេកខេត្តបន្ទាយមានជ័យ
My name is Bora. I'm 34 years old. I'm in the community accountability facilitator in Rulua commune, Swai Chek district in Mentei Mien Chai. It's the same province with the health center chief. Yeah, that.
ចាខ្ញុំជាប្រជាពលរដ្ឋសាមញ្ញធម្មតាម្នាក់ចាអត់យល់ពីសេវាទាំង3ចាមិនយល់ពីរឿងការងាររដ្ឋបាលឃុំមិនយល់ពីការងាររបស់មណ្ឌលសុខភាពហើយក៏មិនយល់ពីការងាររបស់គ្រូដែរដឹងថាគាត់បរៀនតែខ្ញុំមិនដឹងថាការងាររបស់គាត់ធ្វើពីមួយថ្ងៃគឺបែបណាទេចានឹងមុនពេលដែលខ្ញុំចូលក្នុងគម្រោងគណនេយ្យភាពសង្គម
Okay, before I joined the social accountability project, before I become the volunteer, so I'm just ordinary people. I don't understand what is the standard of the services. I don't know what is the right of the services or the people to get the services, like the administrative service or the commune health center service or the primary school service. We don't know about those standards and also the budget.
ចានៅឆ្នាំ2016ខ្ញុំបានចូលធ្វើជាអ្នកស្ម័គ្រចិត្តសម្របសម្រួលការងារគណនេយ្យភាពសហគមន៍ចាហើយអ្វីដែលខ្ញុំបានចូលមកធ្វើការងារធ្វើឲ្យខ្ញុំមានបានឃើញរឿងចាជាច្រើនដែលពីមុនខ្ញុំអត់ដឹងតែមកដល់ពេលដែលខ្ញុំចូលអនុវត្តការងារហ្នឹងខ្ញុំបានដឹងរឿងហ្នឹង
So in 2016, I had joined the volunteer. I joined the community accountability letter. It's a volunteer in the group, and then I observed that, and the citizen is not aware about the same like me. It's not aware about the standard, about the services, about the prices, and about the commune health center and the primary school.
ចាប្រជាពលរដ្ឋភាគច្រើនចាព្រមទាំងខ្ញុំដែរគឺអីដែលមើលឃើញគឺយើងអត់ដឹងពីទូនីតិរបស់ឃុំចាអត់ដឹងពីមណ្ឌលសុខភាពហើយក៏មិនដឹងពីសាលាបឋមសិក្សាតទៅនឹងការពេញការងារចាទី1ចាហើយទី2ពលរដ្ឋជាច្រើនព្រមទាំងខ្ញុំដែរគឺអត់យល់ដឹងពីសិទ្ធិខ្លួនឯងចាយើងអត់យល់ដឹងពីសិទ្ធិខ្លួនឯងទេតទៅនឹងសេវាទាំង3ហ្នឹង
ទៅទៀតទេទៅចាំគ្រូបកសរុប
ចាលោកគ្រូចាភាគច្រើនគឺពលរដ្ឋនៅក្នុងមូលដ្ឋានយើងមិនសូវយល់ពីសេវាទាំង3ហើយធ្វើឲ្យយើងមានគម្លាតចាពលរដ្ឋនៅដោយពលរដ្ឋអ្នកផ្ដល់សេវានៅដោយអ្នកផ្ដល់សេវាជាយើងអត់សូវបានជួបជុំគ្នាចាបន្តមកទៀតការអភិវឌ្ឍផ្សេងនៅក្នុងមូលដ្ឋានគឺមិនសូវមានពលរដ្ឋចូលរួមទេចាមិនមានពលរដ្ឋបានលើកពីបញ្ហាប្រឈមមិនមានពលរដ្ឋបានលើកជាសំណុំពរក្នុងការដែលយកមកអនុវត្តនៅក្នុងមូលដ្ឋានរបស់គាត់ហើយក៏មិនសូវមានពលរដ្ឋបានចូលរួមអភិវឌ្ឍនៅក្នុងមូលដ្ឋានដែរចាហើយចាលោកគ្រូចាប់តែម្ដងចានៅមួយចំណុចទៀតដែលជាចំណុចពិសេសគឺតកតងនឹងរឿងព័ត៌មានថវិកាចាព័ត៌មានថវិកាពលរដ្ឋពីមុនគាត់អត់ដែលដឹងថាឃុំមានលុយប្រមាណចាមណ្ឌលសុខភាពមានលុយប្រមាណសាលារៀនមានលុយប្រមាណហើយលុយនឹងត្រូវចាយទៅលើអីខ្លះអភិវឌ្ឍអីខ្លះគឺពលរដ្ឋអត់ដឹងទេរឿងព័ត៌មានហ្នឹងចា
So she mentioned that before we joined the project, the problem is the gap to access to the information. So she and also the people is difficult to access to the information. It's like the standard or the right and the budget of the services. So when they're not understanding about those primary information, so the people not actively participating with the services. So it's not the engagement. It's not very engagement in the community when the people are not understanding about their rights and also the standard of the services. So it's like the engagement, and also he observed that at that time the limit participation from the community, from the people in the development of the at her commune as well. And he said that the budget information at that time has not been because it's the lack of transparency in expenditure and revenue and the people not aware and lack of transparency. Yeah, this is the key point that he mentioned before she joined the project. Yeah. Okay, Tara, continue. ចាបន្តមកទៀតខ្ញុំសូមបង្ហាញតកតងនឹងអារម្មណ៍របស់ខ្ញុំនៅក្នុងឆ្នាំ2021ចាមានន័យថាយើងអនុវត្តការងារឆ្នាំ2016ចាឥឡូវនេះយើងមកដល់2021ហើយចាយើងមកមើលថាការអនុវត្តការងាររបស់យើងមានអីជោគជ័យខ្លះចាខ្ញុំសូមបង្ហាញតកតងនឹងមូលដ្ឋានស្រុករបស់ខ្ញុំផ្ទាល់តែម្ដងចាអីដែលខ្ញុំមើលឃើញតកតងនឹងការអនុវត្តការងារគណនេយ្យភាពសង្គមគឺពលរដ្ឋចាប្រជាពលរដ្ឋជាច្រើននៅក្នុងមូលដ្ឋានបូករួមទាំងខ្ញុំដែរបូករួមទាំងខ្ញុំជាអ្នកដែលស្ម័គ្រចិត្តនឹងដែរខ្ញុំបានយល់អំពីការបំពេញការងាររបស់ឃុំរបស់មណ្ឌលសុខភាពរបស់សាលារៀនតាមរយៈ I4C ចាដោយសារតែយើងមាន I4C យើងបានផ្សព្វផ្សាយទៅកាន់ប្រជាពលរដ្ឋធ្វើឲ្យពលរដ្ឋបានយល់ដឹងអំពីរឿងហ្នឹងចាទី2តកតងនឹងនៅពេលដែលបានផ្សព្វផ្សាយព័ត៌មានចាយើងបានដឹងពីសិទ្ធិខ្លួនឯងចាតើយើងមានសិទ្ធិអីខ្លះនៅតកតងនឹងសេវាទាំង3ហ្នឹងយើងអាចចូលរួមមតិយោបល់យើងអាចលើកជាសំណុំពរយើងអាចចូលរួមដោះស្រាយបញ្ហាអីជាមួយនឹងសេវាទាំង3ចាទាំងចំណុចទី3គឺពលរដ្ឋនៅមូលដ្ឋានចាជាមួយនឹងខាសចាយើងបានប្រជុំចាពលរដ្ឋបានប្រជុំជាមួយនឹងខាសពលរដ្ឋបានប្រជុំជាមួយនឹងអ្នកផ្ដល់សេវាចាពលរដ្ឋបានដាក់ពិន្ទុបានដឹងពីចំណូលចំណាយចាបាទយើងដឹងពីចំណូលចំណាយយើងបានដាក់ពិន្ទុយើងបានចូលរួមធ្វើកិច្ចប្រជុំរួមទាំងឯកវិស័យទាំងពហុវិស័យចាបានលើកសំណូមពរលើកសកម្មភាពផ្សេងមកកំណត់ទៅជាផែនការចាប
ចាផែនការចាប់ហើយយើងបានចូលរួមប្រជុំតាមដានជាមួយគ្នាដើម្បីធ្វើឲ្យការងាររបស់យើងជោគជ័យជាអ្វីដែលពិសេសគឺពលរដ្ឋនៅក្នុងមូលដ្ឋានគាត់បានពេញចិត្តសេវាទាំង3ហើយគាត់បានចូលរួមជាថវិកាក្នុងការដែរទៅអភិវឌ្ឍនៅមូលដ្ឋានរបស់គាត់ដែរ
Okay, good.ច្រើនណាស់ខ្ញុំដកថាខាងណាមុន Okay. Thank you. I think let join with me in 2021 so as to implement this project. So what has citizen now more aware about the standard of the services and also their right to access to those services, and she also mentioned a good engagement between the service provider and the community now. She can see this engagement is strong engagement. Like the people now, they dare to speak, they dare to raise their concern and demand for the better service directly to the primary school, to the commune councillor, and also to the health center. Like the case from the health center is the clear direction that people they empower to access those services. And she also mentioned that now the people are more understanding about the budget of those services and also more actively engage with the local authority and with the health center, with the primary school as well. So this is one of the good impact of our project. And she also mentioned that in this project, we conduct the community scorecard. So people raise their challenges, raise their concerns in the community scorecard, and then scoring, and then develop the job action in the joint accountability action plan. And then the citizen also allocate their own resources to support the local service provider to implement their action plan. So from the point that the people are not involved, but now not just involved, but also allocate the budget to support together with the plan that has been developed by citizen and local service provider. This is a very remarkable result in my community. Yeah, Thera,
ចាជាចុងក្រោយក្នុងនាមខ្ញុំជាអ្នកស្ម័គ្រចិត្តសម្រាប់សម្រួលគណនេយ្យភាពសហគមន៍ចាហើយក៏ដូចជាប្រជាពលរដ្ឋនៅក្នុងប្រទេសកម្ពុជាដែរចាសូមអរគុណដល់ម្ចាស់ជំនួយអន្តរជាតិចាអរគុណដល់ World Bank ចាអរគុណដល់ម្ចាស់ជំនួយជប៉ុនចាដែលបានយកគម្រោងចាមុនដំបូងគឺ Voice and Action ចាដែលបានយកគម្រោងនោះមកអនុវត្តនៅក្នុងប្រទេសកម្ពុជាហើយក៏ដូចនៅក្នុងស្រុករបស់ខ្ញុំដែរអ្វីដែលជាសំណូមពររបស់ខ្ញុំគឺខ្ញុំចង់ឲ្យគម្រោងគណនេយ្យភាពសង្គម ISSAF នៅតែបន្តអនុវត្តនៅក្នុងស្រុករបស់ខ្ញុំហើយកាន់តែបង្រីកឲ្យប្រទេសកម្ពុជារបស់ខ្ញុំបានអនុវត្តគ្រប់ខេត្តទាំងអស់ហើយយើងមាននិរន្តរភាពយូរអង្វែងតទៅចាសូមអរគុណ
Okay, thank you. Last but not least, thank you so much. On behalf of me as a volunteer and also my people, my community here, thank you so much for the World Bank, for the JSDF, for the Japan people, and that bring this social accountability to implement in my district. And I wish to see this project is keep continue in my district and also can roll out to across to the country, and then we can institutionalization of the social accountability for the benefit of the people of the Cambodia in the future. So thank you from Thera. Yeah. Thank you. I think it's the case from the community. So let me take a brief about the CAF volunteer. We have more than 4,000 volunteers now. So some of them become the commune council, and some of them the female CAF, some of them become the district council. And we did not believe that, but now they become the commune council, they become the representative of the people. And can you imagine when the people, just a normal people, citizen, become the council that full heart of the social accountability. They will bring the better development in their commune. And for me, the great result for me, I think let me twice mention everything, but two things that I mentioned here. We start from the beginning. I think it's the finest for our project. No one knows what is social accountability. Only a few people understanding, because they think social accountability is about the budget. Because accountability budget is financial. But now you can see Matua mentioned that it become the national program, integrated to 10-year plan program. And it means that all the line ministry, all the department at the subnational need to implement social accountability project. It's amazing result. It's just a 3-year implementation to become the national program. And recently, in the official Facebook of the Ministry of Education, the Minister of the Education has mentioned clearly, where have the social accountability, where is the better performance of the school. The country has social accountability, we will have the bright future of the country. And from the way that people not understand what is social accountability, but the minister has a very strong quote to encourage the health and the primary school to implement social accountability project. So thank you deeply to the heart of the Japanese. Thank you to the World Bank, and we really appreciate, and then we love this project, and we promise to keep continue to improve the service for our people here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the direct response from those who are engaged with this project. Thank you, Mr. Sray Piset and Mr. Sabo. It's wonderful to hear from you. And I guess the message is that the communities have become enhanced, stronger, and empowered. And I'm sure we all agree that as Mr. Rao was saying, that this project will lead the country into a brighter future. Unfortunately, the time is running a little bit short, but I would like to ask Mr. Omori to maybe select a few key questions so that we can benefit from audience's participation. So, Mr. Omori, could you take over from here?
Thank you, Mr. Miyazaki, passing the microphone to me. My name is Koichi Omori. I am part of the World Bank team based in Tokyo. We received some questions in advance, and also lots of questions actually we received during the presentations. So let me mention several of them, and then perhaps we can ask the team from the World Vision, and Erica, the task team leader, can pick up some of those points and then address rather comprehensively. First, a question that we received in advance. It seems as, this one. How did you find the situations of the people with disability among the beneficiaries? Did you plan or prepare specific measures, activities to enhance participation and inclusion of the people with disabilities? So this is a question that we received in advance. That's one. Secondly, we received a lot of questions from the one anonymous participant. Thank you for sending a question always, actually. Let me pick this one. It seems men are represented in the presentation pictures, while women's pictures are not really in the presentation. So how about the leadership positions of the women in the project? So that's the question. Let's move on. A question from Shiohata-san. I'm interested in to know whether the central government was fully supportive of the issues, given that the project could potentially question the government ability to provide efficient services. Or if I frame the question in another way, were there ways to separating politics from the issues concerning delivery of the basic social services? And then one more question from Shiohata-san. Was there any roles played by the social media platforms? So that's the question. And then let me continue. Question from Yanagihara Sensei. Thank you very much. Please provide the background for low achievement on some aspect of citizen participation. And what sort of the people were recruited as a candidate for community accountability facilitators? And then lastly, Ryuichiro-san comments. Congratulations to Matthew and Sotaris for achievement as a World Bank, World Vision Japan staff. I'm very proud of you. In the approach, social accountability, or so-called CVA in the World Vision, it is important to bring on board and empower not only citizens, but also local government. And it seems the project has been successful in having local government participate in active way. How did you manage doing this? Did you face any challenges? So these are the comments that we received during the presentation, and also in advance from the viewers. So I'd like to perhaps, we can ask Eric and then Matthew Sotaris to come in to respond very comprehensively. But I would like to return the microphone to Miyazaki-san. Thank you.
So there are a number of questions. Unfortunately, the time is rather limited. So would you like to start, Eric? Maybe picking up on some questions here.
Sure, I'll start out, and I think there's a couple that World Vision would definitely be better to respond to, so I'll leave it to them. The first one is disability. I think World Vision is in a better position to give some comments on that because there were very definitely some provisions in there that they made. Women and men in the project, that's an interesting observation in terms of the photographs. We actually found that women participated more in the on-the-ground activities. So the numbers of participants from the Save the Children and the World Vision activities, it was more women, and actually it was a challenge to get men to participate in some cases. So there were special provisions made for men to participate. And reasons for them not participating, there's many, but including, there were commitments and also migration for working elsewhere outside of the communities. So there were special provisions for that. In terms of the central government support, one of the key factors for the success of this program was the Ministry of Interior's leadership. The Ministry of Interior is leading the decentralization program, working closely with Ministry of Economy, but still, because the Ministry of Interior is responsible for the subnational administration, all the way from the province to the district down to the commune, the lowest level of government, they were able to really communicate their commitment and how serious they were down through these levels of government. And I think that had a huge impact on the response of local government. They may not have understood what it meant in the beginning of the program, what social accountability meant, but over time, they understood very well and then are able to talk about it very much themselves. Social accountability, social media. The project was very much focused on face-to-face, which now, of course, given the circumstances of this event itself even, highlights challenges in when you're accessing certain areas. But because the focus was really on bringing communities to the service provider, walking up to the health center, walking up to the school, and interacting with them, that was really the focus. But in the next phase, there's much more of a technology focus, partly out of necessity now, but also just to make use of social media. And then the last question I'll respond to is on the low achievement of the results. At a global level, this is quite interesting and important for us. We find that in our impact evaluations of similar types of activities, it's actually very difficult to capture participation, to capture impact, to actually measure it, to ask people questions that would, lead to them to tell you what they did differently in their lives. We choose proxy indicators like going to a different kind of a government meeting. And so the measurement is a problem. Measurement is a challenge. And we had some lessons coming out of that, which would lead to sort of more directly interviewing people who participated in the program, as opposed to a random control trial, which is what we used for the evaluation. And that has shortcomings there. So that, it's a global lesson for us. We're actually starting to share those lessons from the impact evaluation within the World Bank and outside, and compare them to other countries. But it's not that there was not an impact. We feel that very strongly. It's just that the way in which it was measured was really not able to capture the real effects on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. May I ask Matthew, would like to add?
Yes, thank you very much for the question. I think on the participation of people living with disability, this was, as Eric was saying, something that was planned from the beginning to try to have the more inclusive process as possible. Obviously, it was a challenge over the duration of the project because people with disability here in Cambodia are facing marginalization and the difficulty of getting them to participate is something that was highlighted many times by all partners. I think over the different, it was a clear objective of the learning agenda, and I think over time during the project, there was something that was documented where different implementing partner tried to learn and to document best practices. And as a result of all this learning and documentation, World Vision has been able, building on the result of the project that we just presented, to work with the government of Cambodia and to review the ISSAF implementation manual, which is the manual that all implementers have to follow, and that's highlight the quality standard for the implementer. So based on the learning from the previous projects, we were able to review this manual right now, and we are working on the government to improve significantly the standard, the quality standard in terms of participation of people with disability. So I would say that yes, we tried our best, and through the project we learned a lot, and we are able now to achieve much better result in terms of inclusion. Sorry, on the participation and empowerment of local authorities, that was the last question. Yes, for us, it was critical to have local authorities understanding the importance of taking into account the feedback of local citizens, seeing this feedback actually as an opportunity to improve the quality of the services and not a criticism that would somehow strengthen their position and learn to act on it. And I think we have documented many instances where local authorities have been fully convinced by the importance of social accountability. We have seen over the duration of the project many local communes dedicated part of their very small budget to supporting ISSAF, supporting the sustainability of ISSAF beyond the duration of the funding from the World Bank and the Japanese Social Development Fund. So we believe that really this project has been very important in empowering these local authorities, showing them the importance to take into account the voice of their citizen. And as I was saying in my presentation, this is something that really is new in Cambodia, and we believe that through this project we have seen a very giant leap in terms of transparency and improving local governance.
Thank you, Matthew. Very quickly, Sozaves, do you want to add something?
Yes, a few things to add, just like the central support, the question about the central support. I observe one thing in Cambodia right now is the decentralization. The government allocate more resources to the local level. So from our project, we try to pilot, and then we try to learn to talk with, negotiate with the provincial administration. And now we got some support from them, like if 5 provinces already that they allocate budget for ISSAF activity. From the commune, from the district level, they allocate their own administrative budget to support ISSAF activity. So we can see the sustainability is not only the central government, but we can see the big player role is the subnational government to support ISSAF activity. And we has been a success on this factor in some the province already. Regarding to the disability, like Matu has mentioned, so now we integrate the identification of the poor people in our process, so in our information poster. So everywhere then we go, we will mapping the poor people, and then we bring the information to the poor people at their house. We know that we invite them to join our meeting. Sometimes they are facing to difficulty of their daily livelihood activity. So we bring information to their house. Our volunteer, we go home by home of the most vulnerable people to empower them through the information. Train them, empower them at the house, and then they can empower and involve actively participate with the services at the local level. So it's just two main things that happen now in our projects. Okay, I give the floor to you back there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eric, Matthew, and Sataris. So I would like to ask if they are still here, Mr. Reinemann and Mr. Tanabe, for their final words, maybe 30 seconds each, based on what they have watched so far. Is Doug around, please? Come in. Final word.
I am here, and I've watched with great interest. This is really special. It is not to our Cambodian colleagues. It is not very often that in our jobs we actually have the joy, the pleasure, and the privilege to see the fruits of the labor of our teams in the field and of our partners. And you are the ones who are making the change happen on the ground. So I want to really sincerely thank you for sharing that with us, and to our friends from World Vision for being such good partners to us. And of course, again, to our Japanese partners for their generosity under the JSDF. So all the best, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Doug. Mr. Tanabe, are you still here? I don't know, maybe not. Okay. We all know that we are making a real difference on the ground, and which we feel very happy about. And I would like to, on behalf of everybody here watching as well as participating, thank you very much for everybody involved in this project. And we learned a lot today, and we'd like to keep our good work and continue making difference on the ground. So with that, I'd like to close this seminar, and sorry that I have taken more time than scheduled. It's solely my fault, but I hope that you will forgive me, and you will see this as evidence of everybody's passion, very high level passion coming together. Thank you, and goodbye to all. Thank you very much.